building a camper.
Alright, so I'm Chris, and my husband is James, and we're embarking on building our first Teardrop trailer. We've already done lots of research, lots of drawings, lots of online shopping. No one makes videos about the online shopping. James is actually in the garage right now working on it, and I'm in charge of the videos for now. But I wanted to start each video kind of showing what we've already made at home, so you just kind of know what our skill set is, kind of where we're coming from. First thing is my son's closet. It was these really old closets. We ripped it out, gutted it. James had widened the door frame a little bit, built everything in there, and I got plans to build a door maybe after the Teardrop. I'll build doors for this. But that's the other thing. So we're parents of two. We have a son who's 3.5, and we have a son who's 9 months. So this Teardrop will also fit us and them. And that's pretty much why we're interested in building a Teardrop. James and I had done, we mainly tent camped before, and we just wanted something a little bit sturdier, but we didn't want an RV. We didn't want to pop up. We pretty much just talk about, like, we want a hard side tent off the ground with a comfy bed that can fit our family. And so we are building a Teardrop. All right, here are some of our initial sketches. We started with drawing this one probably a couple years ago. We love that shape, but as you can see, we're building a bunk bed for the boys, and we wanted to give them a little bit more room, so we updated to this shape. Maybe when we kick the kids out of the house, we'll do that one in like 18 years. Yeah, we're doing a 5x10 trailer. It took us a while to find one, but that's what we wanted. James is like 6'3", I'm 5'10". We're pretty tall. We wanted plenty of sleeping room in there and to still have some room for the galley. The main thing we're working on right now is this, we call it tons of things: floor box, space box, insulation box. But yeah, 5x10 trailer is going to have a couple different problems. Instead of being able to do a 4x8 sheet, we have to do like 3 sheets of plywood here. We'll have to do multiple sheets of plywood for the walls. But yeah, we got some 2x4s we're laying down, insulating this. Mentioned a couple times, we live in North Dakota. You'll see that. So yeah, insulating the floor and the walls, and we're excited to get started.
Okay, so getting the sideboards off was easy, and then I told me to take these boards off. I was just going to take the screws and unbolt them from the frame, but quickly abandoned that idea when I couldn't even get to the heads of the screws. And after some deep thinking, grabbed the saw and knew I was just going to have to cut them all out.
Well, maybe not so quickly, because you're going to come back here and rethink, which this is my favorite part.
All right. So real quick, our plan for the box was to do 3 different pieces of plywood to make the bottom layer. And plan was to do kind of a 4-foot wide section, 4-foot wide section, 2-foot wide section, mostly just to try and get it as strong as we could, since I couldn't actually get a 5x10 piece of plywood. And then build our 2x4 insulation layer on top of that. Once I got the boards off the base here and could actually see the angle iron underneath pretty easy, it worked out well to use that front railing after I cut it off and basically use that as a support right underneath the seams between 2 of those pieces of plywood.
So another benefit of cutting off the side railing, which we'll talk about later, is we got to reuse some of that.
Spare material.
Yes.
And luckily I have an awesome neighbor with a welder who was willing to come over and do it. And then once we welded that on, cleaned up the frame, and started putting the box together. Then I could make sure that basically support was under critical pieces of that plywood and everything was in the right place.
So here it is. We bought this trailer a couple years ago, knowing we wanted to make a teardrop. We've been using it to haul lumber for different projects, so it's come in handy, but now it is time. James is working on cutting off the rails and the supports. I know people are back and forth on whether that's a good thing or not, but we feel confident that cutting off the rails and support and then building on top of it will still have a lot of structure. Yeah, kind of what helps us in that confidence is James is a mechanical engineer. That's his background, and he feels it's a good move. So we do live in North Dakota. I can actually see my breath while I'm talking right now, so it's a little cold in our garage. James got his space heater going. But yeah, it's the end of April. This is the longest we could wait. We've had a really long winter, and spring's been kind of cold so far.
It is cool, and it's exactly what I knew was going to happen. Is how much I can flex the frame now because I cut the rails. That'll stick now.
I just told them this is fine, James. I just told them.
It's all fine.
I told them it would be fine.
It's all good.
You're like, look how much it bends. All right, I went and picked the kids up from daycare, and James got all the side pieces off. I'll see if he has any notes on tips on how to do it. The next thing is he's going to tackle some of this rust.
All right, so once we got all the boards off and it was time to clean up, I used a 4.5-inch angle grinder with a cutoff disc to cut off all the extra bolts and to cut off all the side rails and all the welds there, and then just an abrasive wheel to clean off all the rust, get the frame basically smooth and neat so that paint would actually stick to it. We used just black exterior spray paint just to clean up the frame. It was nice working with my neighbor to help weld a bar on there because he told me about when they tore apart a 16-foot camper hard side and it was all angle iron, and they could basically take the opposite corners and push them down to the ground and the frame would spring back. Guys, it's all in the walls. The walls will keep it strong. Our floor box used 2x4s and laid them flat on their side, connected with pocket hole screws, because drilling a 4-inch screw through the side of a board is a bad idea. It's hard to do, and it probably split the board. Let's go inside.
Okay, so I've started cutting out the boards for my box that'll go on the trailer. It's snowing outside even though it was 70 yesterday. Trailer's all painted and touched up just with the whatever collection of spray paint we had. Yeah, making progress even when the weather is against us.
So James is working on cutting the plywood for our base, and I'm working on cutting some pocket holes with our little Craig jig. We picked this up a few years ago when we made our son's bed. This is probably one of the cheaper ones, right?
This is the lower end version.
So yeah, all the beams, I'm just working on getting pocket holes so we can put the box together and put insulation in between, and we'll see what we can get done tonight. I was gonna try to paint the bottom of our base today, but it's 27 degrees, so I would paint the base today, but it's 26 degrees. I could maybe paint today. It's in the 40s, possible, but Owen's not napping well, and I have a job interview later, so not today. Finally painting today.
I'm using this black stain that we used for our fence posts last year. We had some left over, and that's what we're using. The plywood's already green treated, but we wanted to do a little extra layer. We were planning to do just like an exterior latex paint, but found this stain left over and thought that'd be a good use for it. Sounds like in our research, people did everything from leaving it untreated to tar paint to Phylon to fiberglass, whole variety. We wanted to keep it pretty minimal, and we had leftover stain, so why not? Moving on to putting that 2x4 frame together. We're putting down some liquid nail and then some brad nails to help keep it in place, and those pocket screws we've been talking about. We have spacers clamped on the side there as we wanted to leave a little gap and have a little bit of that bottom plywood board for our wall to sit on. And we'll probably show that more in the videos where we're building the walls. But yeah.
We're assembling the box up off the frame on some solid sawhorses. Mostly we needed it to be really as square as we could get it and level as we assembled it, so that when we set it on the frame and bolt it together, we knew it would help pull the frame square and then add to the support when we put the walls in.
This is probably my favorite part of this build so far. We're cutting this insulation, we're measuring really closely. We want it to fit in those squares super tight. The liquid nails that James bought can be used on this foam board, but we got everything to fit tight, so we didn't use any. We did cut it with a knife instead of using a saw, as that would obviously remove material. We knew we'd be a little tight on material. Our last row of squares actually had to use a couple pieces to get that fit, but we're happy with how it turned out.
All right, we did it. So that was the first week and a day-ish. Getting that part of the trailer done. We're super excited. I'll make another video after this called Nightcaps and Recaps, talking about 3 things, tips, things we did wrong, things we wish we knew, all that. So look for that video as well, and kind of see a recap there. Woo! Can you say, we're building a teardrop?
We truly made a poopy.
That's not it. Can you say, we're building a teardrop?
I can't say that.
No, okay.
We're building a camper.
Perfect.